It is only 6 days until the earnings report, and I'm sure that many of you out there have a lot of questions that you'd like to have answered next Wednesday. I've got Brad Ferguson from rebellionaire.com who's going to help me think about the questions that he might ask or that others are asking. And maybe it'll encourage you to suggest in the comments below some questions that you might like to ask. So, Bradford, are you ready to tackle the questions for next week?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get right into it.
All right, let's start with the questions that are now being asked by retail investors. I forget the name of the website, but they have a website.
Say.com.
Say it again.
Say.com.
Say.com. That's it. I went there this afternoon and got these questions. So these are the ones that are at the top of the list right now. So number one, given that you've moved the start of the next generation compact vehicle production to Austin, has the timeline improved so that we might see the next generation platform vehicles in 2025? I would change that to 2024, but I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's a fair question that gives them room to correct on the year. And yeah, hopefully we get some kind of answer to it, not a complete dodge. Gen 3 is, behind autonomy and Tesla bot as like a primary catalyst and driver of value. Gen 3, which would be a compact car, more mass market. It could be a model that would Tesla be able to get to 5 million vehicles per year just on that model alone. Is very important. So hopefully we get some kind of clarity on when to expect that.
Okay, well, that is the top question being asked on that website. Now, number two is anonymous retail investor asks, should retail shareholders be concerned that Elon has stated he's uncomfortable expanding AI and robotics at Tesla if he doesn't have 25% of the voting? You've actually had quite a bit to say about that on X this week, I think, and maybe even on a Spaces. So what are your thoughts about that question?
So it's going to Elon, and I'm guessing Elon's going to answer it. I doubt the new CFO would be answering that one. I wonder if that would be answered. In a way, maybe Elon was speaking out of turn because you're waiting for this court case to finish. He might have been putting pressure on Delaware to give their ruling so that the Tesla board of directors can finally give Elon a new pay package, which has been disruptive in a way for Elon and Tesla. It's been a couple of years. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, and on second thought, I'm not sure how much Elon will say. We do want to secure Elon at Tesla. We want to be mindful of the costs. We don't just want to give him the moon, the stars, and the universe and galaxy. But so this is an important topic, and I think the board of directors probably already has some ideas on, how they would do it, how they might do it a little differently, given whatever's occurred in a court case. So, yeah, I don't think we'll get a whole lot new from Elon. Maybe a little color on what his concerns are. Me speculating a little bit, I think this whole ESG thing with the passively managed index funds and how many shares they have, I think that's concerning. When GM gets a higher environmental score on the ESG scoring, it's just not right. It's a bit of upside down. I think DEI has Elon a little concerned. So I think Elon's a bit paranoid, but maybe for the right reasons. He wants control. Elon has saved Tesla, twice in its time, and Tesla wouldn't be around if not for Elon and his perseverance, in my opinion. Um, and maybe are we going to talk more about that, or is now the time to fully discuss that?
You mean whether or not he would ever leave as a result of not
Or,
getting 25? I
or
never really
what kind of
saw that as
percentage he
yeah.
should get or whatever?
Yeah, I didn't see as a threat that he would leave. It was just a question
Mm,
of whether I felt like he was looking at the humanity issue, which is big on his list, which is he doesn't want to have a board of directors and or even a voting shareholder group that would push him to do what OpenAI has done, which is to look at the profits over the human questions. And
yeah.
I think that's where he was coming from. I suppose what I'd like to see him do would be to maybe shade the color a little the other way. Like, I'm not going anywhere. I love this company. I want to see that Tesla is hugely successful. I just don't,
Mm,
yeah, I think to run away. That would be my hope, but I'm not guessing that that's what he's going to say.
yeah. I do think boundaries need to be addressed and set, like Elon starting this AI company on the side, yeah, outside of Tesla, and then like, wanting to uh, do that so he can incentivize those AI engineers with a higher potential upside than what might be there with Tesla. But now, like, I think in a way, Elon might be seeing the upside in Tesla bot and autonomy, and seeing that closer. And now he wants more shares. But the way Elon stated it in a tweet is he wanted 25% of the votes.
Right.
Um, so I think it is about control. It could be also be about resources and money. Some, like, Elon does want to get to Mars, and to be able to fund that, it will take a lot of resources and wealth. And SpaceX alone, the wealth from Starlink and whatever may come, that may not be enough to really fund Mars. He might need dividends or share sales eventually from Tesla, to fund uh, a thriving Mars colony.
So all of those things could possibly be on the table. Well, let's look at the third question. The third question on their list was, how many Cybertruck orders are in the queue? When do you anticipate you will be able to fulfill all the existing orders? Well, that would also depend on one other thing, is like how fast are new orders coming in? So I would add to his question or her question, what has it looked like since December 1st in terms of new orders? What do you think?
I like the idea of getting Tesla on a record with how many pre-orders there are, because that's not really that well known in the media or the public. I think most people aren't aware that there's nearly 2 million pre-orders for Cybertruck. So I think that's good. More important for me is, um, I want to know what the bottleneck is for Cybertruck production and when that will be resolved. I've heard rumors that it was like a one piece of equipment that was holding things up, and they're getting it around the middle of January.
Ah,
But we haven't really seen a huge increase of Cybertrucks coming out of the factory. Um, so that would be what I'd want to know more, than just what's being asked here.
okay. All right. So then the last question from that group was, does the company anticipate, this is a good one. I like this one. Does the company anticipate a 50% volume CAGR to be realized in either of 2024 or 2025? And if not, why not? So of course, to reset it, the promise has been 50% per year, starting with the 500,000 in 2020. We beat that again in 2023, but to do that in 2024, we'd have to get to 2.53 million. That seems to be higher than anybody except Randy. No, actually, I'm at 2.35. Others are at 2.4, but nobody's anywhere close to 2.53 in their speculation, even though I believe the capacity is there to make 3 million. So the question is here, Can you get to 2.53 or close to that? I suppose would be another way to ask it in 2024. And what about 2025? Are you going to be able to get to 3.7?
I think a little better question and would be, Texas has been operating below capacity, well below capacity. They have 2 lines that should be capable of 500 to 600,000 Model Ys. They've been like stuck below 4,000 a week, so below like 200,000. And Giga Berlin, it got to 5,000 a week briefly, but then it was kind of like hanging out at 4,000 a week. I'd want to know more about that in the shorter term. I like the question around 2025. So we'll see. I don't think it's the best worded question, but that's just my opinion. This one came from an institutional investor.
Yes, I believe that's correct. Yes,
Yep.
an anonymous institutional investor. Yeah. Yeah, I think the question is, I like the question. Again, it could be worded better, but I certainly think they have the capacity. So with the additional Cybertruck capacity that they'll have in 2025, and with the new Gen 3 platform that's coming later this year or early 2025, it seems like they could get to 3.7 or darn near in 2025 in terms of capacity. Seems like it's more a question of whether they can sell that many. And that's, that's a whole nother story as the numbers get bigger and bigger.
Mm-hmm. It's possible they may not comment on Gen 3. I'm of the opinion that whenever Tesla does work on a compact hatchback or compact otherwise, that they're going to announce it when they're ready to produce them. They're not going to announce it months in advance. They don't want a Osborne Model 3 or Y, to the extent that some people may want a compact and would prefer a compact over a 3 or Y, but could get any size. So I think, maybe they'll refuse on those grounds to try not to Osborne themselves. But Gen 3 is pretty vague, but it's possible the media could run with that.
It's true. It's true. All right. Your questions. Number one question, I don't know that these were in any order of importance. One of your questions was the 4680 battery ramp. How is the ramp up progressing? What are the current roadblocks? Man, I love that question. I think it's like maybe the most important question. Probably should be number one.
Yeah. Tesla has been battery limited, and they were set up in Giga Austin and Giga Berlin to go 4680. And then when that didn't go as quickly as they thought, they had to switch to 2170. And Giga Berlin is set up to do the BYD Blade battery in addition to 2170. Yeah, 4680 is really important, and we've gotten different growth rates as time has gone on. There was one point before the last update where they said they expected to increase by like 1,000 a week per quarter.
Right.
So like each quarter the rate would increase by just 1,000 a week. But then the last quarter it was better than that. So I'm curious where that growth rate is. And I'm still uncertain if like all the technical challenges have been surpassed. We're assuming that Tesla expanding their lines on 4680 means they have figured it out, but we don't know that for sure. So it'd be good to have that confirmation.
There did seem to be some kind of rumors going around that the dry cathode thing has still not been 100% figured out, and therefore they're still having to import wet cathode, the wet cathode portion in order to make the 4680s. But that would be, maybe that's a too deep of a question for the call, but maybe that's something they could talk about on the all hands meeting. What's happening with the dry cathode side, and will that be coming on soon enough to really get them to their full 100 gigawatt, yeah, 100 gigawatt level as they expected to by mid-year. Energy, your next question was, well, actually, I think, did we talk? No. Yeah, we talked about this already, Cybertruck production. Next was energy business. You're the one that you're specifically I don't know, the community's expert on the energy business, the Megapacks. When you see
You
it in
got it.
clear, I can say it. I could say it so easily if I didn't see it in print, but then in print, it threw me off. The Megapactory in Lathrop is still producing much below stated capacity. What's the bottleneck there? When will that be removed? Is your next question. Do you have any theories or thoughts on what the bottleneck is?
Yeah, maybe it's power electronics or batteries. Yeah, yeah, potentially. Yeah, I'm not sure. That's why I'm asking the question.
There you go. Okay. Well, all right.
And
So,
you know, our last checking out, they've changed over the logistics there. They're using the lot that's further away from the factory. They're using that more to load the flatbed trucks. So that's a positive thing. And they have like several spots where they can load the flatbeds. They're using more of the straddle loaders, but they didn't complete pouring the concrete ramp for the second door that's on the outside of the factory. So they're still just using one main door and have 3 like conveyor belts going to that door. Um, so yeah, it's not operating at 40 gigawatt hours, and still seems to be like at like 50% or below that. So I'm, yeah, like to know what's up.
yeah. All right. So your next question is FSD version 12 progress. Nobody wants to know about that. I can't believe it wasn't one of the top 3 from the website. So what are the biggest challenges left? My suspicion is that this is that if based on the fact that it's supposed to be 100% video
Neural
in,
nets.
neural net video in and then action out. I'm thinking at this point, it might be almost 100% just compute, put the data in, compute more data in, and then, there might be a few things they have to override with some hard coding, but what do you think? Or do you, again, are you just like, I don't know, so I just like to know?
Yeah. What issues are they running into? I don't think they get like super specific, but what's the nature of it? Is it compute? Is it figuring out how to train it a little different and how to address uh, interventions or safety critical interventions? Um, the key thing with robotaxi is you need to figure out how to pick up and drop off people. There's some rumors that V12 is already doing a little bit of that, where um, there was a review where a person said they engaged it and the turn signal turned on to start as it pulled off the curb, which is not something that FSD version 11 does.
Yeah.
And that at the end of the drive, the car pulled to the curb. So like that was some new behavior. Um, yeah. And like what issues are they running into, beyond California? They do have a fleet of drivers throughout the world, but it's just like a few engineers here and there. That's not, what scales. So I'm wondering when this expands from employees to Tesla owners
For the
throughout the
rest of us.
US.
To
Yeah.
the rest of us.
And they've gone from version 12 to 12.1, and then now they're doing 12.1.1. So I'm hopeful like that they feel good about that enough to roll that out to customers and not then go to a 12.2 only to employees. Because if they did that, I think people begin to worry that's going to be a long wait. for version 12. But overall, with version 12, I think Tesla significantly raised the ceiling to where they can get. I think this is what's going to work for them. But each week, each month, each year that delays, like in the US alone, 40 some thousand people die a year, and up to 400,000 people are seriously injured in a life-changing way in car accidents. So um if it's not safety critical, like, I hope that Tesla gets it out to owners as soon as possible. Um, if they're compute limited, maybe it's not critical to get it out to owners, but yeah, I'm curious about the safety stats for version
Yeah,
12 versus version 11.
yeah,
So if it's more safe that way, or if it gets, what Tesla also found was, sorry, I'm jumping around, was the reason why they got rid of safety score and made it open to everybody is they found that when people drove the beta, uh, they got in less accidents per mile
no matter
because they
what.
were much more vigilant. Um, so, maybe one reason they should push to roll it out would be for safety reasons, because, more people would then engage with it.
Right.
Personally, I've stopped using in my area because it doesn't do well in certain situations. I'm trying it out again, but um, I think it would encourage people to re-engage with it, and that would be a positive.
All right. Your next question is, are there any big problems in being able to efficiently train Optimus? I know I don't care about this issue at all. So I'm sitting here looking at BMW today, making a deal with Figure. And I understand that, Tesla doesn't need another company to be able to deploy and test Optimus in the real world. But do you think it would be wise anyway to get it out there in some other settings other than what Tesla does? My suggestion has been that they go to Pepsi, where they already have a relationship, and start putting some Optimus into training in some Pepsi situations. And my other one is they should put it in In-N-Out. In-N-Out has always been forward thinking. They're like the Walmart of the fast food business. Put it
Mhm.
into In-N-Out, let them experiment with their rigorous training processes and whatnot. Those would be my two suggestions anyway. But I guess this is where I get the most frustrated with the pace, even though Tesla does things at the pace of thought, according to Sandy Munro. But man, it seems like that bot is ready to go, and I just want to get it out there.
The ugly of autonomy is that there's a million corner cases. So where I'll disagree with you is, like, the beauty of having the bot in the factory and limiting at first to Tesla factories is everything's labeled, and you don't need to worry about different things going on. Maybe things are different in an out burger, and you're dealing with organic matter. I guess I could deal with a t-shirt, but um if you keep it limited, I think you can make more progress in a narrow area and get it doing useful work faster. That's my opinion. Though it's also true that with um, large language models, and that breakthrough is, like, the more variety they get, the better that they get at all
Everything.
tasks.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you just train it on a narrow area, it's not as good. So um, maybe,
Maybe.
maybe.
Anyway, it's a good question, is what in the heck is holding things up? Just, is there a few nuggets you could throw out to let us know what is really in the way of getting to the next level? In the
And
growth
so
strategy.
what I'm doing with all this talk is, like,
Yeah,
telling people, like, what's going through my head. So
exactly. That's why I'm
I know
asking.
it's kind of long and rambly and twists and turns, but that's kind
That's
of
the
what goes through my head.
That's the whole point. So
All
you
right.
said you asked the question about growth strategy. How is the experimentation with targeted advertising going? What return on investment are you seeking specifically? And
Seeing, it should be seeing, yeah, seeing
being
specifically.
specifically, yes.
And companies will comment on this, so they'll talk about, cost of customer acquisition, or they
Right.
call it CAC.
Yeah.
And then you talk about lifetime value of that customer that you gain. So the
Right.
CAC is like your how much the ads cost and how many ads, and also the percentage conversion of each step and how much each step costs, and you multiply it all through, and then you figure out, okay, your profit per customer that's incremental, that maybe you wouldn't have got them otherwise. um, and companies can show, I put $1 in, I get $4 of lifetime value, then you know that advertising is good for them. So like Lemonade is one of those companies that talks about their cost of customer acquisition. I believe like Teladoc and some others are the same. So this would be good information for investors. The earnings call should be for investors.
That's right. That's right. Okay. All right. So now, do you think your next question? Do you think that the oh no, this is my question to you. I'm sorry. This is a
Okay.
very specific question to you. Do you think that the very small cost of a PR department is overdue, as I ranted about today on a video earlier?
Yeah, it's definitely overdue, and we're already seeing some some changes with Tesla. They've already come out with like some short videos on charging and on cold weather. Um, Obviously, they could do a little more. I think it'd be great if they ran ads to those short videos. They're very good, very well done videos. I think Tesla should run ads to them and see how those ads do, because it's in the news right now. Why not?
Yeah. So I've been doing PR basically my entire career. Even when I started a bike shop when I was, 20, what was I, 23 years old, I started my first bike shop. When I started that shop, the first thing I did was join the chamber, and then I got in close with the local Santa Monica Evening Outlook newspaper, and I started writing articles for the Santa Monica Evening Outlook and got to know the people down there, and started doing things that would promote my shop through the press.
Mhm.
I've been doing PR the rest of, I've written hundreds and hundreds of articles for trade magazines and even national magazines like Inc. magazine. This stuff is a way to not just respond to the negative news that's out there, or even respond to
Yeah,
somebody who's writing an article. It's a
do
way
it proactively.
to
Yeah.
proactively getting your mission statement and all the stuff about your new products out there. And I just can't understand why they're not doing that. It's
They
such
do
a
some
small
of it
cost.
with owners, so they did a good job sending out an email about winter tips. So I did get an email this winter about winter tips. So that's good. I think Tesla could be doing way better at on delivery, especially for new owners. New owners need to know that the 110-volt outlet and isn't going to cut it for charging at home. And I think that's where owners got in trouble in Chicago. Jeremy Judkins had a great video about this today.
Huh.
You want a 220-volt outlet. I'd say 240-volt outlet is overkill. You don't need that much. Um, and 220-volt outlet's the same as a washer dryer. And that's plenty for what you need. um, how to get out of your car safely, like the emergency latch, how to use the map to find superchargers. Like, it sounds basic, but there's been people who've rented Hertz or Tesla owners who don't know about this. Uh, Tesla owners should know, when they go to charge, they should navigate to the supercharger, so that their battery preheats and gets ready to accept the charge. Um, so, yeah, I think there's more Tesla can be doing, but I would also say they've greatly improved. They've enhanced their team that's doing this, and they're doing more test rides. They're not selling every test vehicle anymore. They used to do that at the end of each
Right, right,
quarter,
right,
and like even sell the cars that were sitting in the showroom. So you
right.
would have a lot of end of quarters where the car in the showroom would disappear, and people would come to the showroom in the mall, and they wouldn't even be able to see a car.
Right.
You wanna keep the test drive cars there, you wanna keep the showroom cars there to help grow that latent demand.
Right. Right. So your last question was, I'd like to see, you would ask about when full FSD is arriving in Europe, what regulatory barriers remain to be solved, and what action Tesla is taking. And then the same question regarding China.
I think in Europe, Tesla's putting pressure on them to move forward. The European regulators, in my opinion, all that they're doing is making it so that Tesla can't offer their full suite of features in Europe. They actually wrote the rules, and this was in 2019 or 2020. They wrote the rules so that the auto lane change could not work in Europe, that it wasn't able to make the lane change in the time needed,
Oh,
and they made it physically impossible. So they made it so that it had to complete it in a certain number of seconds. I think it's maybe 5 seconds, and it couldn't do a certain angle of attack on the turn.
I see.
So they basically made it impossible for Tesla's auto lane change, which was just straight up protectionism to buy time for the European automakers. Um, but there's a possibility that there might be some kind of ruling this summer that would allow Tesla to, begin to offer that. Um, China, I think, has been where Tesla needs to keep the data in China, and
Yeah.
they need to have an approach or a team in China. Maybe the team doesn't need to be there, but the data needs to stay in China. That's been the requirement the Chinese government has put on them, and this sounds like it's coming soon. So I'm cautiously optimistic about that.
All right.
One thing that the China um, self-driving may not be as good because Tesla may be reluctant to bring like the worldwide data to China. So
Mhm.
just like, training the bot on various tasks might help it do all tasks better. Training the China autopilot on all the data from the US and stuff, that might actually make it a better driver in China. Even though the road rules are different,
Right.
it just might help the car, make various connections.
All right, I'll ask you a question now, since we've exhausted your question. My question is, you called the Model 3 Plus timing just a couple of weeks ago. You got it pretty much on the nose. Now, are you up for a repeat? Because now there's rumors about the performance version. Are you going to confirm, deny, elaborate, give us new data? What do you think about the performance version? Is it coming soon? Is it going to be plaid? What do you know or don't know?
Yeah, I don't know. And when we saw a picture of like some kind of racing seat,
Yeah.
but it's like very zoomed in. Did we see like the whole car?
Well, there
Uh,
was some kind of a plaid or some kind of a symbol that you couldn't tell whether it was plaid or
yeah,
ludicrous.
yeah. Not sure what that is. I don't know anything about
Okay.
Model 3 Performance plus or whatever.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about the stock today. I know this is Good News Thursday, and there wasn't much good news about the stock today, but Tesla stock is getting hammered and hammered and hammered. And I agree with Gary Black that this is primarily because there's a lot of in the investment community out there that is lowering and lowering their expectations for next Wednesday with regard to low margins and with regard to guidance in terms of numbers for next year.
Mhm.
What I'd like to is, I'm going to add to that. I think the relentlessly horrific FUD and nonsense from the press is also part of it. It has just been relentless. We've had what? Probably at least 8 weeks now after the Cybertruck. It was kind of like in concert with when the Cybertruck came out. Nothing about the Cybertruck positive, nothing
Mm.
about the Optimus positive when the Optimus video came out, nothing for 6, 8 weeks now on either one of those, and just hammer after hammer after hammer about anything from whether your car starts when it's 12 below zero in Chicago to Cybertruck underperforming what everybody hoped that it would do. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. What do you think both of those are impacting the stock as the stock was down in an up market today?
I think investors are being short term. Over the last month or two, we've seen competitors quit. We've seen companies drop LiDAR, companies drop models. It's Yeah, Tesla seems to be doing quite well and laying the foundation for the future. Tesla bot being able to do full clothing, at least having the dexterity for that, and even though it's teleoperated, I'd say within a week it's going to be end-to-end AI. So maybe you need to show it 1,000 examples of that. I'd say yeah, Wall Street is coming to grips with this gap year that I've been calling 2024. I called it this summer, and I said that Gordon Johnson was right about one thing, and all the Tesla bulls in that space disagreed with him and like almost shouted him off the stage or whatever. Um, Anyways, I think investors are getting impatient, and I did a poll that I shared with you last week about people selling Tesla, buying
Right.
Nvidia, and I think that's still going on. So we saw Nvidia hit brand new highs, and Tesla's gone down for the 10th out of 12 days or whatever.
Yeah.
It just seems brutal. Um, we may be near an emotional bottom. So it may be like a buy to the news with earnings.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like if you tank down to earnings, maybe it bounces back. Um, I don't know like what kind of good news Tesla is going to give us at earnings, and then allegedly there's going to be the update about a week later or whenever the 10K comes out, the
Right.
annual
Right.
filing.
Right.
Um, it's been pretty rough, and yeah, I think people are getting impatient,
Yeah.
and I've been hearing of people who are like selling the stock and adding Bitcoin or adding Nvidia
Well, Bitcoin has worked
or
out really well from the
or other
last week or
things.
so. So, and the last time I checked, in fact, let's go ahead and take a look at the numbers, Jeff.
Yeah,
Jeff, did I just call you Jeff? That was good.
that's all right.
Bradford, let's
And
like,
Bitcoin's been pretty flat, right? So
well, it was down big today, at least last time I looked. Let's see here. Let's take a look. We'll start though with Tesla. Tesla was down, still is down in the after hours, $1.06 down. That's still in the range of where it was down earlier today. It bottomed out around 309, I think, somewhere in that ballpark. Actually, I'm sorry, did I say three? Two. It bottomed out at 208.74. So that's pretty close to 209. And now it's sitting at 210.85. Um, um, I can't,
it's the stock is very oversold right now.
yeah,
So like
really oversold.
technically speaking, when you have a run like this, um, it's going to tend to bounce from here. But remember the horrific 2022 we had,
It's,
whereas it was just endless for like 100 days. So this could keep going for a while. I'm not making that call,
yeah,
but
right.
it could. And yeah, I'm increasingly concerned about a recession, starting soon. So, and I think of the Magnificent Seven, Tesla may be more exposed than any other company, because I think like NVIDIA is benefiting from a secular change to AI. It's
Right,
not cyclical with the economy.
right.
Um, the Meta and Microsoft, they're not going to cancel their order with NVIDIA
No, no.
if a recession happens. They're going to
Yeah.
say, please, you know,
Keep them coming.
let
Keep them coming.
keep
Yeah.
me first on the list. Uh, so I think Tesla could be impacted more, but you know, it's already at a pretty low emotional point.
Well, you know, if we look long term, we went from 102 or whatever it was up to 300, missed by this much. Of course, I said 300 and we only hit 299.12 or something. I forget what it was. I was like less than $1 short of my prediction. And I got hammered for not getting the number, but okay. I can live with that. But that was that increase. We have now retraced half of it. Now that's kind of a famous kind of, you know,
Mhm.
theory of how the markets work. Well, not 100%. We haven't come down fully retracing half, but very close. So I don't know. I think it really is going to have to, as so many people have said, I think it's going to have to do a lot with Elon's attitude at the earnings call. If he's
Yeah,
if he's downbeat, you know, we might be going back into the one handles. If he's upbeat,
yeah.
we might see, like you said, a buy on the news. All right.
Elon loves talking about the challenges,
He
so
does. He does.
and Wall Street hates that.
I know. I know. It drives everybody crazy. All right, let's take a look at the rest of these numbers here. We have the bonds after being up strongly today. What in the world is going on here? They are on this, what? They are up 13 and a half basis points in the pre-market, the 10-year
Well,
at 4.163. That surprises the heck out of me. I
mhm.
don't know why they would be up so much. That is surprising. And pretty much know that the 3-year, I mean, the 10-year is like way outperforming anything else.
You
Um,
mean the yield is higher, but the price is lower?
so in other words, what I'm saying is the 10-year is up 13 basis points. I'm just wondering if this is
In price or in yield?
in yield.
Yeah, that's bad, right?
That's huge. But then if you look at the 2-year, it's only up a half a basis point. So
Mhm,
that's I'm sometimes I see something like this and I think that there's something wrong with the app or something wrong with the information that's coming in because this is
mhm.
completely out of context with everything else on the list. Let me look
Yeah,
at the 30-year. The 30-year is only up 1 basis point. So
mhm.
this is kind of bizarre. Anyway, that's what
Maybe
it's
it's a
showing for.
futures rollover. I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
not a
yeah,
bond person.
yeah. I'll spend more time on that and report in the morning. We'll see if that was correct or if that was just some weird thing. All right, let's look at oil. Oil has been down. It is down again, only 2 cents though, so basically flat at 74. Natural gas is not moving 10%. Lately, it's been up 10 and down 8. Anyway,
Mhm.
right now it's only up 0.1%. So it's pretty even. Gold also very even. Not much happening here in the except for that bond price, which I really think is something wrong there. And here you go. Now Bitcoin, this is for the entire day, not just in the pre-market, but for the entire day, down 1453 at 41,239. So that is the lowest point it's been since a couple of days before the ETF decision.
Okay.
I don't think it's been this. I'm almost sure it hasn't been this low. And then we have the Dow is, I'm going to make this easy. The Dow and the S&P are flat. It's so close to flat. It's not worth talking about. But the NASDAQ is up 40 points, up to 0.24. So NASDAQ is doing okay. That's where the markets are now. Thoughts about the markets tomorrow? Tomorrow we won't get, still not getting much in the way of earnings this week. The
Mhm.
real serious earnings reports start coming next week.
I know you've been talking some about Yemen, the Red Sea, Suez
Right.
Canal. The U.S. has done some strikes against
Yes.
the Iran-backed rebels who have been shooting the missiles at the big container ships, you know, trying to do global commerce. What are your thoughts on what the U.S. is doing? I know it's unclear, like the effectiveness of the strikes, but What are you thinking now?
Well, so first of all, let me just say that there was a report out today that said that this is now having a greater impact on global transportation, seabound transportation than the beginning of COVID, not the worst times of COVID. The only reason it's not showing up more so far is because there was an oversupply of containers and an oversupply of ships. So they've been able to, otherwise, if there was a normal supply of containers, they would have already run out of containers and we'd be going crazy again like we did during the COVID. And the same thing is true with ships. They had 10% more ships than they needed. So they've been able to put ships, onto this quickly to take up some of the problems that are happening. But it's worse at this point than it even was at the beginning of COVID. In terms of the US response, they see, first of all, I am there's always a reason why you have 3 or 4 major conflicts starting during a particular administration, especially if it's after an administration that had no new conflict starting for 4 years. And all of a sudden you have conflicts starting everywhere during the next administration. And that to me says that nobody's afraid of you. That's what it says to me. So now you have no diplomatic power when you're trying to make sure these things don't take place. And now you have to pussyfoot around. What are you going to do? So they're pussyfooting around. They're taking these surgical strikes. They're not making any big time threats. I'm not sure that you're going to get anywhere with the Houthis. Just playing nice or playing balanced responses. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm curious to see how this plays out. Allegedly, there's like at least 100 ships that went through. A couple did get 2 of the ships got hit by a missile. I don't know what happened to them if they just
No damage. I mean, basically they were able to just keep going. The
keep
damage
going.
was minor. Nobody hurt. Yeah.
Okay. So maybe this is starting to blow over. We'll see it. I just thought it was positive that the U.S. was starting to do something about it, and I think that this administration had taken that group off the terrorist list, and now they're saying they're putting them back on.
Yes. Yeah. I just I'm not a fighter. Okay. I'm a little skinny guy. I always try to talk my way out of things. I'm not going to ever go up against somebody that's bigger than me. Generally speaking, if somebody is as big as the United States, they should be able to project power in such a way as people they don't lightly go against what the US interests are. And right now, it just doesn't seem like that's the case. But that's a little bit of my politics, but without saying anything about anybody negative.
There you go.
So I think overall, I'm not sure what's going to happen in the Red Sea. Iran said today or yesterday, Iran said this will continue. They were really blatant. These attacks will continue in the Red Sea until Israel pulls out of Gaza. So that's about as straight up as you can say it.
Oh, I got one more question for you, Randy.
Sure.
I had I'm patting myself on the back for this poll. What do you think is going to happen first? Tesla 500, Nvidia 1,000, Bitcoin 100,000, or CPI 2%?
CPI 2% will happen first.
Okay.
Yeah.
You heard it here first, folks.
How did the poll come out?
Yeah, I think CPI won that one. Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think Tesla got some good votes, and I think Bitcoin came in last, if I'm remembering right. Yeah.
So you may or may not know that my price target for Tesla is 700 this year.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. And that is based, okay, now just so you know, That's based on a forward PE of 65 at the end of the year, end of 2024.
Mhm.
Forward PE based on expected earnings in 2025, right? Because that's what forward PE means.
Mhm.
And so you're looking at 2025, which by then we should be looking at very good clarity on Cybertruck, very good clarity on Gen 3, very good clarity on what the overall market situation is. Were we able to hit some good numbers in 2024, or was it a really rough year? All energy, we should have Shanghai open. There's so many, and the streets should start to realize what's happening with energy. I'm thinking by the end of the first quarter report in April. So by the end of the year, the energy thing will be getting a bigger and bigger part of the story. So all in all, people will start upping the number for 2025, the full year 2025 earnings. Put a 65 on that and you're at 700. And that does not count robotaxi, does not count even full self-driving, and doesn't count Optimus. 100%, those are, if any one of those three things happen, it's not going to be 700. Tesla will be at 1,000 before NVIDIA happens if the robot or the robotaxi starts happening.
All right.
Okay, we've done it, right? We've solved all the problems of the world in just an hour or so. So glad to have you on. People should go to your website, Tesla Air, especially if they happen to be one.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, did I
rebellionaire.com.
say that again?
Sorry.
Rebellionaire.com, especially if you happen to be a Tesla Air, because
Mhm.
that's who you specialize in, is folks who have $1 million or more worth of Tesla stock. But I understand you'll take somebody on and help them with their investments, even if they're slightly under $1 million worth, right?
Yep.
Okay, all right. Okay, good. Thank you again, as always, for co-piloting the Thursday night good news time that we do. See you next time. And for all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.